Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This was like really short notice, and we appreciate everybody coming out. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to start with the Assistant Secretary. If you could come up and speak, Jaquan Stembridge.
All right, well, hello, everybody. My name is Jaquan Stembridge. I am 18 years old, and I'm running to be your next Assistant Secretary. A lot of times, I go across the state and you always hear from this Republican Party, we want young people. How can we get young people involved in our party? And then when we're given the opportunity to have young people in our party, we just kind of push them away. This is not time to push people out of our party. This is time to build on the coalitions that President Trump helped us build in 2024. You see, I got involved in politics because of the COVID-19 pandemic when the world was shut down. They wanted to shut down our schools, our churches, and the government wanted to take full control of our lives, and I just did not like it. I was always taught that the Republican Party was the party of rich white men that cared nothing about people that looked like me. Well, during COVID, I had nothing better to do, so I had nothing better to do than learn more about myself and learn more about politics. And I learned during that time that the Republican Party was not the party of rich white men that only cared about themselves, but it was the party of hard-working men and women like the people in this room that stood up for the values that people like me cared about, wanting a secure border, wanting more law enforcement officers in your community, wanting to be able to have religious freedom and to go to church when you wanted to, not when the government told you that you could. And I also realized during that time that I did not like the government been in full control of my life, and so I got involved. I started volunteering with the Trump campaign in 2020. I was so young, they didn't want me knocking on doors, so I made phone calls to President Trump. And after that, in 2022, I became a field organizer for the Georgia Victory Team, where we knocked on doors, made phone calls, wrote postcards, and did everything we could to help get our Republican candidates elected. In 2023, I got sick of just sitting on the sidelines during non-election years, so I started up the Georgia's 10th Congressional District Teen Republicans chapter because I wanted to empower other young conservatives like myself to take a stand, to get involved, and to have a seat at the table. And now I am running to be your next Assistant Secretary because I believe it is time now more than ever that young people and Gen Z have a seat at the table in the Georgia Republican Party. You see, we are in the fight of our lifetime when it comes to conservatism. We sit back thinking that just because Trump won in 2024 that everything's going to be fine and everything is just going to be the way that it is, but everything is not fine. We have the Democrats who are going into the high schools, they are going on college campuses, and they are indoctrinating an entire generation of people. They are teaching this generation that being Republican is the party of rich white men, and we're doing nothing to stop them. We complain about the Democrats indoctrinating, but we only come in these rooms to complain about it. We don't do nothing to stop it. We have to start following in the footsteps of Ronald Reagan, showing this generation, meeting this generation right where they are, showing them that conservatism does still work. We need to show this generation that Republicans is the right way to go, and that when you do conservatism the right way, things work out perfectly. So my name is Jaquan Stembridge. I'm 18 years old, and I'll be honored to have your vote in Dalton on June 7th.
Okay, we had two other candidates that it was a very short notice, so they were not able to attend. Carolyn Jeffers and Kylie Kramer are also running for Assistant Secretary. Now for the Secretary, we have Susie Voiles. She's running for Secretary.
Good afternoon. It's great to be back with you all, and it was fun to be here and know exactly where I was coming. First of all, I want to thank you for everything everybody in this room did to elect President Trump. This was an awesome, awesome opportunity on our part, and I'm really grateful for that. How did I get here? Well, I want to tell you something. My dad pulled me around in a little red wagon, and he taught me the stewardship of living in the country where I live. He taught me how to knock door after door after door. I'm not going to elaborate on the things I've done, but they're on the back of my push card here. I love this country. I love this state, and we're in a very perilous place right now where globalism is creeping in and people are making decisions on our behalf that are very contrary to the way the Republican Party thinks. I was privileged to be on the platform committee for the RNC 2 terms in a row. I'm very proud of that. One woman, one man from each state, and I think we came up with a fairly good platform. The one thing that I think we need to know is if we aren't who we say we are, if we are not the people who endear one another to and have the teamwork to build America, everything else will become shambles. Our foundation is crumbling. We've got a president who is trying hard, but this is not his responsibility. It is still our responsibility, not necessarily to knock doors, but to use our precincts to do what we must do in order to build up our precincts, to build up our voting base, build up your House districts. And I'm hearing that many of you are not getting the communications from the state. Well, if you're not getting them, make sure that you go on the website and put your email address in. They don't just automatically send them out. So make sure that you get those out, and you will get the communications. I probably get more than I need every week, but I appreciate them very much. America is uniquely gifted by the Lord. Our liberty comes only from God. And I love the way that Jaquan was talking about Ronald Reagan. He was my first boss. And the one thing that he instilled in us was it was okay to disagree with him. And I went to him in 1984 over an issue at the border. Remember, before that, he was the governor of California. He didn't care if people disagreed with him, but what he did care was that you came to his face. I have a biblical worldview. If I disagree with you or you disagree with me and we have a problem, we need to do that face to face. If we do not practice biblical morals upon which our party is functioning and our country was founded, I hate to say it, we may as well pack up and go home. This country is worth saving. Thank you very much. Vote Susie Voiles for Secretary.
Thank you, Susie. Okay, Cindy, I'm just going to say Cindy because I don't want to mess up your name. Cindy Nixon is running for secretary also.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. And usually my name, Cindyella, is used when I'm in trouble, so Cindy's fine. And before I start, I wanted just to say that my sister and I were here about 2 months ago, and since then we have been bragging about all of you and the fabulous work that you did. It's just amazing what your group is doing, and it can be done in every county. So having said that, a little bit of background about myself is that I was born in Washington State. I grew up in California, but I've lived in Gwinnett County for over 40 years. In fact, my sister and I have lived in Peachtree Corners. I am a registered nurse, and I have been so for about 40 years. And my political journey began in 2016 when President Trump and Melania came down the famous escalator. Now, before I go on, I want to make a quick disclaimer. You're probably hearing that candidates are forming slates, and which to me is causing a great deal of animosity and division. So I want to say to you and reassure you that I am not on anyone's slate. I've not been endorsed, I've not been asked, and so I'm running solely on my own because I'm one of you, a grassroots conservative. Now, regarding my experience as secretary, to save time, you can see on the back of my card the organizations where I've actually served as secretary. So now, if I am elected secretary, I have two main goals outside of the usual job description of secretary. And the first goal is to improve or start communication on a regular basis between you and the state. Because you elect the state committee, you have the right to know what's going on with them, what they're doing, their goals, and what they're accomplishing. The second goal I have is to create communication between the counties. Because as we know, there are small counties that are struggling. There are other counties that are just knocking it out of the park. So why not share those ideas? Because wherever we live in Georgia, we want to elect good conservative Republicans. So I want to do those two main goals. So I kindly ask for your vote. Oh, I've got a minute left. That's unusual. But I kindly ask for your vote to serve as your next secretary. And I look forward to seeing all of you in Dalton, and have safe travels, and see you in June.
Thank you, Cindy. Appreciate it. Okay, for now, our next candidate. Okay. So Jenny Ekman, she's not here tonight, but she's running for assistant treasurer, and I don't think she has any challengers. Okay, so for treasurer, Jeff Delagoria. I'm sorry. Jeff is running for treasurer.
Thank you. Good evening, Cherokee County. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Jeff Della Majora, and I'm a candidate for state party treasurer, and I do hope to earn your vote in Dalton. The reason why I am here, the reason why I'm running for this position, is because, like so many other Americans, in 2020, I was raising a family, running a great business, and in line to vote for Donald Trump. And right there with my own two eyes, I got to see the cheating right in front of me. You can't unsee things like that. And then you couple that with what we experienced in COVID, when they tried to take our freedoms away and force compliance on us. That was unacceptable. It changes who you are, and I had to reset my priorities. I'm 53 years old. I'm a recent empty nester. I have unlimited energy. I'm a proud U.S. Army veteran, and I created and run a great small business. I created my company with my own bare hands. I built it through grit and focused activity, and by the grace of God, my company has continued to grow and thrive and allowed me to create jobs. So I often get two questions. The first is, Jeff, why are you qualified to perform the duties of treasurer? Well, that's simple. I run a great company, and there was no one but me to do all the finances. I did all the payroll. I did all the bookkeeping, the accounts payable, accounts receivable, taxes. But the second question is more important to my heart, is of all the ways to serve Georgia Republicans, why treasurer? Well, there's a lot I have to learn about statewide politics. But there is one role in the executive board, and that role is treasurer, that is completely objective. It is a black and white task, a task in which I am qualified and capable to perform. So as treasurer, I commit to overseeing the party's funds with diligence, competence, and transparency, make sure that our party remains solvent, make sure that money continues to come in, and also that we're always ready for an audit. I also commit to supporting and strengthening our elected chairman's agenda and working as an active participant and team player with the rest of the executive board. Now, there's one other part that I don't share too often, is I'm retiring from my company. And I'm retiring from my company because this is more important. And so I am committed to give my full attention, time, skills, and experience to making sure that we elect the most conservative Republicans and the best candidate. So 2026 is almost upon us, and we need to have our best. And the time is now, and we have one goal, is to elect these great Republicans, but the time is now, and with Trump at the helm, the wind is at our back, and we have to seize this opportunity. My name is Jeff Della Majora, and I hope to be your candidate for treasurer with the Georgia Republican Party. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. We also have Lori McLean, who is running for treasurer. She's the current treasurer right now.
Hi, everybody. I am Lori McLean, and I'm your current treasurer for the Georgia Republican Party, and I need your help. When I ran for treasurer in 2023, I ran on 3 promises: trust, training, and transparency. I have delivered on all 3 of those promises, but I have more work to do, and that's why I'm running for re-election. In the last 2 years, I have worked with county and district treasurers and chairmen to assist them with their compliance requirements and answer their financial questions. I updated the county treasurer training manual with new limitations and regulations and added information specific to fundraising and best practices. During the fall of 2023, I Zoomed with nearly 100 chairmen and treasurers to answer their questions and provide them with the support that they have needed for a very long time. And I'm committed to doing the same going forward. If you were to listen to some folks lately, you would think transparency was a 4-letter word. Transparency is how you gain trust, and it's something I work very hard to achieve. So here's the truth. Every check written, every deposit made into any of the bank accounts of the Georgia Republican Party are properly listed and accounted for in our required ethics filings. Every single one. Unfortunately, some of those reports are as much as 400 pages long, and they do not provide information that the state executive committee needs to make decisions about future expenditures and commitments. I have tried to provide useful, straightforward summaries at each of our executive and state committee meetings. It's unfortunate that we have not had more regular meetings than we have. So let's talk about what I'm going to do over the next 2 years. I will prepare quarterly financial reports specifically compiled for our state committee, including meaningful and useful information, regardless of whether we have a scheduled meeting. I will implement a monthly treasurer's email to our county treasurers with any updates that have been issued, plus a list of questions that I may have answered during the last month. We should share questions and answers so that we can learn from each other. And finally, I will propose a system of checks and balances to ensure that we are receiving value for every dollar spent, so that donors will have confidence that their donations are being used effectively to get Republicans elected up and down the ballot. Being a treasurer of the Georgia Republican Party is not a high-level position. It's not a jumping-off point for folks with political aspirations. Fortunately, I don't have any of those. I'm an accountant, a certified public accountant, put here to solve problems in the financial compliance world so that other folks like you can do what you're best at. If we're going to beat Ossoff in 2026, we're all going to need to be rowing the boat in the same direction and working together. I always have been and always will be ready, willing, and able to do my part to achieve the chairman's agenda. Elect me in June, and let's get her done. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, now we go to second vice chair candidates. And we're going in alphabetical order. Brad Barnes, would you come up and speak?
Great to see everyone this evening. My name is Brad Barnes. I am running to represent you on the state executive board as your second vice chair. I'm from Rome, Georgia, which is probably best known to most of the people in the country as home of Marjorie Taylor Greene. We like our fighters up there. I'm also a grassroots fighter, although I can work with anyone that's dedicated to victory and wanting to put the Democrats out of office everywhere. As far as my experience as a grassroots organizer, I've done a lot of things, particularly with our young organizations, the College Republicans and Young Republicans. I knocked 5,000 doors last year, did over 10,000 phone calls myself. I fought against the COVID tyranny. I've worked in election integrity. I've done a lot. In terms of two of the things I'm most kind of well known for in the world, it's 2 things in 2023. My fight against the Trans Queer Pride for Kids event up in Rome, which a lot of nasty things were going on with kids up there. Kids being exposed not only to drag shows, but actually people flashing the kids, the library showing off their trans queer books for kids, DFACs up there offering adoptions to these people in the middle of this pride event for kids. So a lot of nasty stuff. So we ended up getting illegally arrested by the Rome police up there. We fought those charges. We won. We forced the city of Rome to make their ordinance constitutionally compliant to protect everyone's freedom of speech in Rome and elsewhere. And then also in 2023, I filed charges against the wicked Fannie Willis of Fulton County. Yes, sir. On the day that they were booking President Trump in the jail, I was filing charges against Fannie Willis and her own court system. And so that was necessary because Chris Carr was not doing it, and I found that a private citizen could act, and so I did act. I got a lot of death threats for that. I was on the news in about 15 countries that day. It was a pretty wild experience, but you know, you can't be afraid. Christ is King. We can't turn back. We all have to get in this fight together, and so I have about a minute. And you know, what does success look like for me? It's a victory so big next year, so huge. The Democrats are howling at the sky again. They're crying, and they're never coming to our state again to try to take it over. And I thoroughly believe that the Republican Party is the thin wall protecting our founders' republic from total globalist tyranny. So if you want to win, and you want to win big in 2026, if you want a bigger and a bolder GOP, bet on Brad Barnes at the state convention. I'm the man for the job. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, so going in alphabetical order, Noreen Cantor. And thank you. Huh?
Thank you. Thank y'all. I'm glad to be here. How many are delegates going to state? Awesome. Thank you for going and doing your duty. And we'll see you at state. So I am Noreen Cantor. I am running for second vice chair of the Georgia GOP. I am about transparency, integrity, and grassroots. Grassroots are a big thing. America first, grassroots. I'm not talking about just grassroots. We need to get people elected, true R's. Down at the Capitol, we have too many rhinos down there that aren't doing what we want them to do. We have 2 or 3 down there. We can't have this. We're going to lose our state. If we don't change the way we recruit grassroots, we're not going to change. I have worked on many campaigns. The last one was for John Gordon of AG. I hope y'all remember him. He is great. And I also went to the Leadership Institute to learn about grassroots from the bottom up. I'm talking find people that want to run for office, train them, help them, support them, getting them in office. And here's a big one. If they don't do what they signed up to do, hold them accountable. And guess what? Then we'll primary them. Because we can't have any more rhinos down there. It's just ridiculous. So I'm for the grassroots. I have a plan called Grassroots 2026 that hopefully I can implement and get all the counties involved to get real grassroots elected. I am all about transparency. So the NDA that has gone out to us that you have to sign it, and it's $25,000 an incident if you disparage the Georgia GOP for 3 years. And then you have to go to Fulton County and face their corrupt judges down there. So out of transparency, here is the 9-page NDA that I will not be signing. So I do not get the delegate list. So I would appreciate all your help. Also, election integrity, one-day voting, hand counted, strict voter IDs, full transparencies. No machines, no excuses. 30 seconds, thank you. So I am Noreen Cantor. I am America First, grassroots, Trump-supporting candidate with integrity. So thank you very much for letting me come speak to you, and see you in Dalton.
Thank you, Noreen. So Betsy Kramer is running for second vice chair. You're welcome.
Anyway, good evening, everyone. As you know, I am Betsy Kramer, and I'm running for second vice chair. Why I got in is because I had many people, many people, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Many people were asking me to run because they know that I get things done. So let me tell you a little bit about me. In 2009, I left the Democrat Party. I just had enough of them, and I joined the Tea Party movement. For the past 16 years, I have proudly served as a grassroots conservative leader at the county, district, and state levels. My experience includes, but doesn't stop there, last year I was a 2024 presidential elector, so I got to vote for President Trump 3 times. That was in December. I was also a delegate to the 2020 and the 2024 RNC, and I was on the 7th District Committee, and I'm from Fulton County, don't shoot me. I was the first vice chair there, and then in 2021 I was also the acting chair for like 6 to 8 weeks. But anyway, let me go on. I'm a generous donor to conservative candidates and causes because I believe in investing in the future what we want to see. If we don't fund it, we're not going to get anything done because the Democrats just seem to print money, I guess. Whether organizing, solving problems, excuse me?
Sorry, Republicans too. We all print money.
Oh. Whether organizing, solving problems, or stepping into leadership positions when it counts, I've built a reputation of getting things done. In 2020, the Trump campaign tasked me alone, with recruiting volunteers, okay? And I had over 600 volunteers. Last year, I had another 600. I've been fighting for I've also been involved in election integrity. I was on the election integrity task force even before it started. And so I've been doing that. I've also played a key role in the House Bill 30, which is Georgia's anti-Semitism law. And it's real important to me because I'm Jewish, but it's also important to all of you because it's for religious freedom. Okay, so I also started the first bank on the internet back in 1995, and that helped me learn and hone my ability to innovate, lead, and deliver results that matter. So thanks to all of us, all you and me, we got, as other people have said, we got Trump elected and many other offices filled. So as your but I just want to say one team, one mission, and one Georgia. We all need to come together. I know there's many differences, but let's all just kumbaya. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. Okay, so now we have the first vice chair candidates. We have Lisa Pierce was not, oh, I'm so sorry. We have a person who's speaking on behalf for Shawnee. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for having all of us here today. This is a beautiful facility, so I'm jealous. I'm from Jackson County, so. But anyway, I'm not Shawnee. Shawnee's much younger, prettier, and taller than I am. A little bit of her is on your table. And so about Shawnee, she came to the United States when she was like 10 years old. She was sent here from her family for her education and stayed. She graduated from Georgia State with a degree in business management, married to her husband, an Army veteran for 27 years, mother of 2 wonderful military officers, one's a captain and one a lieutenant in the Army. She and her husband built a racing company from scratch, and her husband would tell me that she put in 75% of that, so it's really a lot of her her contribution. So she knows something about doing something from ground up. Her strength is kindness, strength, and effective management. So she's ready to work hard for you, for the party, and transparency and communication is her key point. She's a first-generation immigrant, just like I am. So this is not her spiel, but this is mine included. That she'll be great at reaching out to the newcomers, just like I am, and that's how I get to know her. So she's a dedicated servant. She made over 13,000 phone calls from President Trump, door knocks, fundraise for him, a Trump Force captain. She's done everything, and also in 2019, she as a Dalton GOP chair, she fought Stacey Abrams. She got the voter roll cleaned up, and for that she was sued by Stacey Abrams, and was I think she was with True the Vote help, so they represent her on that case. So her platform is unity. She wants to serve the chair. That's really the job of the second vice chair, is to do what needed, that the chairman needed. And so that's, as well as serving all of you. So she's going to focus on communication, on training. She's quite tech savvy. She's humble. She's a hard worker. So hopefully you can take a look at her and support her. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for speaking for Shani. Okay, so now we're on to first vice chair candidates. So is Sally here today? Oh, okay, that's right. James is going to.
Hi, I'm not Sally Grubbs. My name's James Dvorak. I'm the chairman of the Cherokee County Republican Party. Sally had asked me to read a couple things for her, so I'm going to tell you. I'm going to read two letters of support, two very quick statements of support from other county chairs, tell you about her priorities, and then tell you one thing quickly from myself. So this is Deanne Wise, the former Bartow County chair. She said that I have worked with Sally for many years, and we have always been impressed with what she has accomplished in Cobb County. As the over 80 chair, she was invaluable to me as a first-time county chair. Her experience and her willingness to share made my job so much easier. The over 80K position serves as a resource and think tank idea-sharing group that is often taken for granted, but it is critical that these chairs have a forum for sharing best practices and potential resource sharing. Thank you, Sally, for your service. That's, again, Deanne Wise, former Bartow chair. Stephanie Andres, the chair of Fulton County, says, in 2023, I was honored to be elected chairman of the largest county in our state. From the very beginning, Sally, serving as the over 80 chair, was instrumental in helping me to get up to speed. She provided invaluable guidance on expectations, engagement with the state GaGOP, and was always available to answer questions and offer support. Sally championed the idea that we are stronger together, that there's no need to reinvent the wheel when we can share knowledge, resources, and experience. Her leadership helped foster a spirit of collaboration among counties, reinforced the fact that Georgia stays red when we work in sync. Thanks to her, I've developed strong relationships, with leaders in other counties and built connections well beyond Fulton. I'm truly grateful for Sally's support, encouragement, and tireless dedication. Thank you, Sally, for generously sharing your time, talent, and treasure with the over 80K chairs, all while leading Cobb County with distinction. Sally's priorities are grassroots engagement, making sure that we build a strong GaGOP, election integrity, and financial integrity, specifically with regard to the political persecution we saw in the 2024 cycle with people going after our electors and other lawfare against Republicans. Just a little bit about my experience with Sally. When I became a chairman, Sally wasn't even over 80 chair yet, but I met her when I first became chairman of the Cherokee County Republican Party back in 2022, and it was, it feels like every time I had a question, Sally was the person I was calling. to get advice on it. She became over 80 chair. I've worked with her as over 80 chair, and it's the same deal. She's actually the one who encouraged me to run for over 80 chairman. So I'll tell you, if you don't know Sally, she is regularly down at the state capitol with the state board of elections. That's one of election integrity is one of the reasons that she got involved. And you'd be hard pressed to go to a state board of elections meeting and not hear her speak. So. And one more thing. Oh, another thing that she was very passionate about. I drafted an open letter regarding converting our county boards to nonpartisan races. I was very opposed to that. Sally signed off on it. She's been an open opponent of that as well. If you don't know, just research Senate Bills 14 and 15. And Sally was a vocal opponent of those. So time's up. So there we go. That's Sally.
Thank you, James. Okay, so next we have Alice Olenek. Did I say your name correctly?
Thank you so much. I'm going to see if this works. If you can't hear me, then I'll pick it. I'll pick it up. Can you hear me? I'll talk loud. Okay. Hi, I'm Alice Olenek. I'm running for first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. Thank you for the invitation tonight. It was very nice of you. I'm ready to earn your trust and your vote in Dalton in a few weeks from now. The energy from President Donald Trump's 2024 campaign led us to victory, and we must carry that same passion and energy into the Georgia 2026 election. It's time to energize our voters across this state. After the 2024 election, I reflected on how that I could help the Republican Party, and I've decided that was through leadership. I'm a doer. Whether it's organizing, fundraising, or problem solving, I've always been there for my county and my district and the voters of Georgia. I'm not in this for fame. I'm not in this for political power. I'm here to serve the Republicans and the citizens of Georgia. I bring 12 plus years of experience in Gwinnett County Board of Registrations and Elections, managing over 600,000 registered voters. I've served on an election integrity task force, which began in 2020 after the debacle of the election. I helped shape legislation in 21, 22, 23, no legislation was passed, and in 24, I actually have succeeded in getting laws changed to make your vote more secure. As your first vice chair, I will fully support whoever becomes the chairman of the party, and I will step in whenever it is needed. I'll visit and support. This is my pledge. I will visit and support all the counties that I can and every congressional district, statewide, whether they're rural, farming, suburban, or urban, to energize and engage conservatives who don't even call themselves Republicans. I will work hand in hand with local parties to try to engage those voters, okay, and whatever else they need. President Trump won Georgia by 115,000 votes. If we don't mobilize his supporters, 2,663,000, many of whom we don't even know who they are, Georgia risks turning blue. Together we can prevent that. It's time for the Georgia GOP to be courageous, vocal, and forward-facing. We must grow by energizing new communities, including young and diverse. We must grow our membership. We must increase our coffers. Let's build a strong, inclusive Republican Party that protects life, supports families, promotes education, limits government, and defends religious freedom. I'm ready to work with you for Georgia's brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Okay, we have, for the chairman, we have Josh McCoon, but he was not able to come. It was really a last minute. Oh, okay. James, did you have some? Okay.
Was there one more candidate for? Yeah, and running, and she has not. We have not heard from her, and she wasn't able to. All right. But thank you, Mike.
I have a question.
Oh, she did respond.
Is Carolyn Jeffrey still in the race? Yes. Okay. I had her rumor, so I just wanted to.
Okay. Hi, I'm also not Josh McCoon, in case that wasn't clear. So Josh says, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Republicans, today I stand before you to discuss an important choice for the future of our party and our state, the re-election of Josh McCoon as chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. Under his leadership, we have accomplished remarkable feats, and I believe, well, I'm just going to read what Josh wrote. I believe that his continuous tenure is essential to our forward-moving success. Success moving forward, excuse me. First, let's talk about our field program. Chairman McCoon made a strategic decision to hire the talented staff from the Trump Force 47 and lease their offices, allowing us to launch a focused effort to engage low-propensity voters and encourage early voting. Thanks to this initiative, over 4 million Georgians voted early in the last election cycle. More importantly, over 800,000 of those early voters had not participated in the 2020 election. In a state where the presidential election was decided by just 115,000 votes, this effort was not just significant, it was potentially decisive. Next, we must address a cornerstone of our party's mission, election integrity. Under Chairman McCoon's guidance, the Georgia GOP has triumphed in the courthouse, the state house, and the polling places across our great state. We have brought on more election lawyers than ever before, recruited and trained an army of volunteer election attorneys, and filed and won more election integrity lawsuits than in the entire history of our party. In 2024, we passed 3 key election bills, including a pivotal law on ballot access that allowed 3 minor left-wing parties onto the ballot, taking 40,000 votes away from Kamala Harris. This was a critical step to ensuring that our voters were heard and that our elections were fair. Moreover, we have mobilized an unprecedented number of poll watchers, covering more polling places than ever before. This proactive approach was vital in ensuring that the 2024 election was not a repeat of the challenges we faced in 2020. Our financial commitment to these efforts cannot be overlooked. We raised and spent over $23 million to defend the ballot, to turn out our voters, and drive our message. This investment has laid a solid foundation for our party's future and has empowered us to compete effectively at all levels. Chairman McCoon is running for re-election I am running for re-election because I have the experience, vision, and the determination to fire John Ossoff and replace him with an America First conservative. I am committed to keeping control of our governor's mansion and ensuring that we continue to uphold the values that matter most to Georgians. The choice before us is clear. If we want to win more elections, build on our successes, I urge you to vote for me. However, if your focus is on settling petty internal scores that only serve to undermine our unity, you have another option. Let's put the A-team on the field. Let's keep winning. Vote for Josh McCoon to be the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party, and together we will continue to drive our message forward and secure the effort of our great state.
I have hard enough to being heard with it. All right, well, thank you. So I have now for chairman also, we have David Cross, and you have
Thank you. All right, so you guys know I'm in the investment business. I'm looking at like what's going on in the news. I was blown away by the fact that President Trump landed in Saudi Arabia yesterday at 4 a.m. He was up all day. I don't know how the man does it. He got a $1 billion airplane donated to the Air Force because the Saudis came on to Air Force One and said, "You're flying a jalopy. We need something better." And then on top of that, the icing on the cake was $600 billion of investment coming into the United States. I mean, that's just stunning. It's stunning. So I'm frequently asked, why am I running? I'm running for chairman for the same reason that I ran as second vice chair. I got involved because I was recruited. Somebody came to me and said, "You've done so much work on election security that I think you should run for second vice chair." And I said, "Why on earth would I do that?" All right. And the person said to me, "Well, if you win, then the politicians down at the Capitol, they might actually listen to you out of deference to the office that you hold." So I ran and I won. All right. Immediately after I won, I kind of got shut out along with Brian Pritchard. All right. So last year I ran for national committee man, not because I was looking to try and get up the ladder. I mean, at my company and all the companies I've ever worked at, I don't care if you call me head janitor. All right. Titles don't matter to me. But I ran for national committee man for the same reason. I wanted to be able to share what we were finding in our research with other states that were dealing with election security issues. Unfortunately, I didn't win last year. Now I'm running for chairman for the same reason. I want to be able to follow through on President Trump's executive order 14248 and get paper ballots in this country, in our state. Civilized nations in this, around the world, count ballots by hand at the precinct, hand marked, and they know what the results are at the end of the day. Taiwan counts 14 million ballots in one day, and they do it all by hand. We can do the same thing. It was proven right here in this room. So we know that we can do it. So I'm running for the sanctity of our elections. I want to rebuild this party. There's no petty bickering or scores to settle or anything like that, like what Josh, what in the message that Josh sent. When I look at this organization, the Georgia GOP, I'm frequently told that, that I want to wreck it. I want to go in and burn it down. As a business person looking from the outside in, what I see is an organization that is terribly mismanaged, needs a lot of help, and it's on the verge of, in my opinion, collapse. I want to rebuild it. My father was a home builder. I know what it's like to put a foundation in, to put the studs up, to put the roof in, to dry it in. I understand how to do that. I've followed the same concepts in growing my business. If we want to grow, we have to bring back truth, trust, and transparency. And that goes with what Laurie said before. She wants to have quarterly reports as far as the financial condition of the organization. I do too. And I'm going to publish those on the website so anybody can see them. If we've got truth, trust, and transparency, people are going to trust the fact that we're not wasting their money, and people are going to stop saying, I give to the candidate and not to the party. We've got to stop that. How am I doing on time? 1 minute, 10 seconds. I got so much more to say. I'm like a 1/3 of the way down. So anyway, and one of the things I do have to say is I agree with one of the messages you heard, that you heard tonight, that we need to have one team and one mission. As it stands right now, the way that I see like the Georgia Republican Party is we've got a baseball field that's out there. There's a lot of players that have been on the ball field for a long time. We got a lot of new players. I'm one of the new players. Quite a few of the folks in here are new players on the ball field. And we've all got to get together and unite if we are going to win in 2026. We got a lot of work to do. If you look on my website, Cross for GA or Cross for Georgia, either one, you're going to see 14 initiatives and committees that are on there. I'm going to need the help of everybody who's in this room, whether you've been involved for a long time or whether you're brand new. I am going to figure out a way to harness your time, your talent, and in some cases your treasure to make the Georgia GOP the best that it can be. I'm David Cross. I'm running for chairman. I'm going to stick around for questions afterward. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, David. Okay, I'm going to now go, we're going to do a Q&A session. So if somebody has a question they want to ask of a candidate, please raise your hand. What'd you say? Oh, the other.
You're supposed to do that mic. And she's going to give you that mic. Or what?
Okay, this
No,
is
you
good.
guys get this mic.
Okay.
She'll hand me that mic.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this will be the audience.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions they want to?
Hi, this is for David. David, do you find it counterproductive that our current chair is using landmark communications that are tied to Rappersberger, Sterling, and I forgot the other guy's name, to send out text, campaign text that's tied to the Dominion machines.
All right, so the question is, do I find it counterproductive that we're using landmark communications for communicating out there? I don't know the answer to that. Okay, what I do know the answer to is that as it stands right now, there is no process for getting competitive bids on any of the money that we're spending. If the current chairman wants to spend $10,000 or $100,000 with somebody, there's no competitive bidding process. There's nothing out there. We have to have that. So thank you.
Thank you.
This question is for Lori, and I was wondering, I've heard, and is it true that you don't have full access to all the records? And what about the recent personal transactions that were marked as meetings example, and it was actually an alloy gem payment?
So let me say, it's working, right? Yeah. Let me answer it this way. First of all, any issues that we may be having, we should be having those conversations at the state executive committee level. Okay? Now, when I got elected 2 years ago, one of the first questions that people started asking me was, do you have access to the accounts? Well, define accounts. I am a signer on all the accounts that we have, and we have several because obviously we have to separate our state money from our federal money. I'm a signer on all those accounts. But the only thing I see is the QuickBooks, which is what Karen enters when she cuts checks or does wire transfers and when she makes deposits. So she puts information in there. Then once a month, like today, I got the FEC report cut for the period ending April 30th. I don't know how many pages it is. I haven't looked at it yet. But the last month's was 90 pages long. And so it is virtually impossible for me to take, in the amount of time I have, take all the transactions on those 90 pages and tie them back to the QuickBooks. On top of that, I don't have any source documents whatsoever. So I have to go by what's in the QuickBooks. That's the only information I have. For the most part, what I am able to do is reconcile the ending balance. So if you look on the FEC report, it will say this is our balance at the end of this period. That does tie back to what's in QuickBooks. So I do know that every transaction has been recorded. Okay. As far as expenses that are being posted that maybe we shouldn't have run through the Georgia GOP. That did happen. And I will tell you again, when you're reviewing 90 pages worth of documents, and I generally don't have more than 24 hours to do it, I look at the big numbers, the big names, I look for the outliers, and I, other than that, have to trust that Karen and the other folks who have access to the credit cards, etc., are doing the right thing.
I have a follow-up question to exactly what you had just asked. Now you have two issues, one with the state and one with the FEC. Now, when you file a report with the FEC, you have to say who the donors are, right? So you know exactly who's contributing the money. And you also where the expenses are going. And if your expenses are not in line with the FEC, you're going to be in trouble because they don't mess around. So how, and the other thing, I believe I saw you on Roy Hambrick's show, and that you, thank you very much for what you're doing. Thank you for speaking out, and thank you for coming to the table once again. How do we resolve these issues? Because you, if I understood you correctly, you're pretty much denied the access to any of this information because nobody's in that office, and nobody is, they don't make it easy for you. They don't want you to dig. What do you say to those comments I just made? Thank you.
I'm not going to speak to their motivation. The only thing I will say is this.
But I didn't ask about the motivation.
It has been done this way for so long.
It's culture.
It's culture.
And we
It
got
has
we
been
got we
done
got to
this way.
rechange that.
It has been done this way for so long, and they're not accustomed to someone like me with my skill set coming in and saying, wow, I'd sure like to see more information so that I knew more about what I'm looking at. Okay? The deposits and the checks are not always listed one by one in the QuickBooks. There'd be no way for me to tie it item by item back and forth.
But how does that get to the FEC? Because
Okay.
they need to see that too.
Yeah. So what happens is there is a piece of software called Aristotle. It is a campaign software. Karen enters the transactions. Every deposit, every check is entered into Aristotle, and there's a drop down, and she picks the donor's name and that sort of thing off of a list of folks that have given to us in the past, for the most part. And she puts in the itemized transactions that will go on the FEC report. And then when she's ready, she uploads it to the FEC report. Now, I just want you to understand something. My entire life has been one deadline after another. I'm a CPA, okay? I have had a tax practice for nearly 40 years. And so it's one deadline after another. When you get the report on Friday and it's due on Sunday, which happens very frequently, it's better to file it and then go back, and if there's an error, we can always amend it. There is no fine for amending it. There is a fine for filing it late. And so I'm protecting the party by going ahead and saying, hey, I'm pretty certain this is right. So let's go ahead and file it, and if something pops up later, we can fix it. And that's kind of how we've been operating for the last 2 years. I approve it. Karen emails me a draft. I say, this is good for you to file, and then she actually uploads it to the FEC website.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So my question's for Jaquan. Jaquan, you've said that you're very passionate about wanting to bring in younger folks. If you could just give us a brief primer on how you plan to do that, other than just being a young guy yourself.
Yep. Thank you, James. Well, if I was assistant secretary, the first thing I would do is I would set up a meeting with our young Republican group, our teen Republican group, and our college Republican group. It can be over Zoom, it can be over lunch, and I'll say, listen, I'm assistant secretary now, I'm one of you. What can I do to actually help at the state party? What can we do to help you out? And I can already tell you, as Teen Republicans chair, the first thing they're going to say is, well, we would love for you to be a little bit more hands-on. We would love for you to provide us with more financial aid so we can have conventions and have the lieutenant governor come and speak and have a video from Trump or whatever the case is, something like that to inspire our young people. And then the second thing I would do is I would try to help make sure they have the tools so that they can take the message to those high school campuses and to those college campuses, because the party shouldn't have to necessarily do it, because we already have the auxiliary groups. So we just provide them with the resources so that they can go take the conservative message to my age group.
I actually have two questions. One for the secretary that's responsible for communication, and then one for the treasurer. But I'd like to also hear Cross respond to both of them as well. Okay. So first of all, with the treasurer, you said that the resource documents, they're not attached. Would you look into a different software besides QuickBooks? There are newer softwares out there where you can attach the resource document to it. For example, if someone fills out something they want reimbursed for, that form can be scanned. So when you go to that item, you can click on it, you see who it was written to, the amount, but you can also click and see the resource document or the invoice or whatever. Would you consider doing that? And is it Karen also that reconciles? And then, so that's the one question for about, would you be willing to switch? Because you're just seeing amounts, you're not seeing details of what things are for. So that's not good. I'm the treasurer, by the way, of the Cherokee County Republican Party, and I don't think I would ever want your seat under those conditions. Then the question I have for the communication, or the secretary, I noticed on the website and I think this was touched on at the GRA. There is no contact info, so someone wants to donate to contact, or they talked about there was a problem with emails. People didn't want their personal emails shared. But a lot of websites you could go at the bottom, it says contact. You clicked it, you put in your name, your phone number, your email, your question. It goes to some main thing, and then like if I wanted to had a question for the chair, it would be forwarded to the chair or whatever. Why not that kind of a system, or give each buddy on the board their own personal Gmail that says chair, GOP chair.gmail, secretary.gmail. There's a ways around that. And so I would like to have more access to you. And also when we have people that walk into our headquarters, I had a gentleman come in and he's like, he wanted to donate. And there was no place on the website for me to send him to. I just happened to know the treasurer's info, so I sent it on. So that website really needs to be more friendly.
I'll just answer really quickly. I don't want to bore these people with all the technical details about how we do the accounting. QuickBooks will actually allow me to upload source documents as well. There is a strong sense of we don't want our stuff on the internet, because I had actually suggested creating a secure Dropbox that we could share documents, and I got some serious pushback on that. So we could use QuickBooks to do what you're talking about, because it will actually work. But I'm never opposed to looking at something else if we were to if it worked for us. That would be our chairman.
Can I speak to that? I am not currently the secretary. I'm the assistant secretary, but I can speak to that. I have had my brake lines cut. I have been shot at. Right now we're in a federal court, and that has been absolutely excruciating because of everything that I have done for election integrity. And I want to tell you, personal information, I have enough personal information that's out there. And if somebody wants to know my personal information, there's enough people in here who have it, and they can say, hey, can I give it to Claire Harrison? And I'll say, sure, but have her text me, because I've gotten to the place where I can't answer phone calls. Now, as far as the website, on here, there are two buttons. One says donate, and one says volunteer. And there are more than that, but that's on there. But the reason it happened that way and this is before any of us were there. I think this was under the last, well, maybe somebody was there, but nobody that's here was there. There was a woman who had her identity compromised, who was a member, not somebody running for the office. And I know that sounds kind of hokey to y'all, but if you've been in my shoes, one of my dear friends from Coffee County had to move out of the state because, she was one of the indicted ones. People have been putting their lives on the line, and it's very, very difficult to have our personal information out there. I have 3 grandchildren, and they happen to be living with me. And I want to tell you something. My neighbors came up on their own. I live in a cul-de-sac. Unfortunately, I live in the end of the cul-de-sac. But they came up with a plan in the beginning of all this, how they were going to stop people from coming down. And all the homes, there's probably 17 homes on our street, who had a gun and who was going to do what, and who was going to protect my grandchildren. My daughter said to me, Mommy, you take the kids and hide them. I said, no, you take the kids and hide them. I'll take the gun. I said, you get those children safe. They have a lot more legacy to live and a lot more life to live. And I can handle myself. But the other thing you've got to understand is this isn't anybody trying to keep things away from people. This is people trying to protect you. You don't want your things compromised. If you've ever had your accounts compromised, it is not fun. Everything of mine has been on the dark web. There are unimaginable things said about people in my family. One time I had to have my daughter, I didn't have to have her, I allowed her to borrow my car. And I told my husband, I gave him a razor blade, and I said, get out there and take every political sticker off my car. And he said, how come? I said, somebody shoots at me and shoots me in the back of the head, that's one thing. Somebody shoots my daughter thinking it's me, that's entirely another story. We're not trying to hide anything. I appreciate what people are trying to do to protect me, protect my family. My friend that had to move to Texas, she can't even get a job as a dog walker because she had to be bonded. This is how bad things are. And these are people who have stood up since 2019 and 2020. My family has stood beside me. Many of you have stood beside me. And the least we can ask is that our information is protected.
All right, you said you wanted my response on this thing too, so a couple things I'll tell you real quickly here is that what Susie said, a lot of truth to it. I tried to hire the indicted one, and the SEC said, you can't hire her. I was just going to have her making marketing telephone calls. And they said, you can't hire her. And I said, why? And they said, because she is suspected of this, that, or the other. And I said, there's a big difference between suspected and convicted, all right? But they still stopped me, all right? Should we make leadership, information, or leadership accessible? Yes, all right? If you're serving, in a leadership capacity of the Georgia GOP, you should have an email address up there so that people can reach out to you, or a telephone number. Just really simple. I mean, and the thing is that if somebody doesn't want to give out their personal email address, it's very simple to create a new one. I'll even help you do it, and you'll only get Gmails, from that, so you don't get a bunch of spam. Yeah, you should not have to pay for it. Yeah. No, it's unlimited. You can have unlimited emails. I mean, in my company, I could have 1,000 if I wanted to, but we can do it. And Susie, I'll make sure that your email's paid for. Absolutely. Okay. The treasurer software, I'm going to support whatever the treasurer wants to do. It should be, I was sitting over here with Alice, and I was like, we're still using QuickBooks for this organization? That doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not the treasurer, so that's something that you let the treasurer determine. The other question I wanted to weigh in on was about Jaquan, and what's he going to do? If I become chairman and Jaquan is in his position, I'm going to send him out as an ambassador across the state, to go out and inspire people. And one of the things I've said too is I'm going to create a scholarship program. I want to make it so we can get 100 young Republicans, to come and participate in in our state convention. Our state convention is on June 7th, right? June 7th. I mean, if I think back to like high school and college, June 7th was kind of like getting the itch to go down to Panama City or something like that, or go visit friends and family. And if you're a young person, you're kind of scratching your head and saying, I can either go to the state convention and hang out with the over 60s, or I can go, have drinks with my friends at the beach. And that's a very easy, it's a very easy choice. I want to make it so they don't have to make a choice. They can do either one. And then with regard to, I pulled out my concealed carry permit because I got death threats too when I was doing election security, investigations. Nobody ever did anything, but you know what? I've got cameras all over my house. I've got cameras all over my business. It's just one of the things that unfortunately we have to do, today. But they're all high definition and they can see in the dark. So if anybody tries to come after me, we're going to catch them on camera. All right, next question.
I have a question about the Georgia GOP organization. I was listening to Ms. McLean
I don't understand how many Karens are in the Georgia GOP, and why, like, if I'm electing you guys, I would like to know that you guys are doing the job, not some Karen somewhere else doing it. So how is this all set up?
Okay, so to be fair, Karen is she's the executive assistant to the chairman. Her job is to handle the accounting, accounting entry and things like that, like putting information in, to answer the telephones. And Laurie knows a lot more about what she does.
Let me just Karen, God bless her. I hate that her name has been abused like that. Karen Henschel is our accounting director. She has been with the organization for 15 years. She is paid a salary. She works full time and then some to keep up with all the money that comes in and the money that goes out. So she is the only Karen. Yeah, she also sets up the conventions. She's got her fingers in every event we ever do. I mean, we would not be able to function without a Karen in that position. And not that way. Y'all know what I mean. But she is paid full time by the party to do that work. Well, depends on who you ask.
This question's for David. It's Jason from Cherokee County. David, as a businessman, can you tell us more about your platform regarding trust, truth, and transparency, and how that differs from the current chair? And two, how will you lead the entire team, and will you allow input from the EC as a board would do in the business world?
Thank you. All right. First part of the question was about truth, trust, and transparency. What truth, trust, and transparency comes down to is just simply making yourself available, putting the information out there. The financials going onto the website, to me that's something that it should be on there on a quarterly basis. I cannot tell you how many times that I'll go out and talk to people that can write really big checks, and they don't want to write them because they don't trust where the money is going to go to. My own dad said that, prior to him passing away. And the way to combat that is to just deal with it head on. I'm pretty sure that when we go through and we look through the financials, we're going to find some things that we don't like in there. And this is going to sound terrible, all right, but there are occasions in life when you have to eat a crap sandwich and move on, and you got to, make the apology, show how you're not going to do that again, and then report on it, apologize, and get input. The second part of your question had to do with how will we run the executive committee and the state committee? So right now, I don't remember the last time we had an executive committee meeting. It's been a while. August. All right, so August 20th is what Laurie said. And state committee was, when was that one? May. Almost a year ago. All right. Again, I keep coming back from the business world, and I sometimes have to remind people. I got to remind myself, don't bring your logic to a political discussion. But in the world where I live, your executive committee is very much like your executive team, at a company. You're gonna meet with them once a month, probably a couple times a month, and it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out, 2-hour meeting. In June or July, it might be like 15 minutes. Hey, does anybody have anything going on that's any grave concern that we need to address right now? Nope, everybody's good. Hop in the lake. Awesome, all right? But there's going to be other times when we need to head things off and deal with them. So a lot like a business, we're going to run it like that. The state committee, to me, kind of represents the shareholders. It's almost like having shareholders in a corporation. And they get together once a quarter. At Coca-Cola, once a quarter. every other business out there once a quarter. They put the financials out there, and they take input from every shareholder about what's going on out there. Like, one of the things that I don't understand why we don't have right now is on the Georgia GOP website, one of the things I'm going to institute is I'm going to put a suggestion box on there, for crying out loud. You know, suggestion box and input. It can be monitored by, it can be monitored and filtered easily by artificial intelligence. I've got friends that do that kind of thing to make sure that if some Democrat wants to go spend like all their afternoon, filling our box up with spam, it's gonna get rid of all that. But I want input from everybody in here. I want input from Jason. I want input from everybody in here so we can understand where are we hitting the mark and where are we missing. Lisa, you're up.
So, if you haven't had regular meetings, are you at least on a regular basis giving written officer reports or committee reports to the chair on what you're doing? Has that not been going on?
What planet do you live on?
Well, that's Cherokee's planet. I mean,
I
we
love
do
it. We need to adopt. We've got to have that. No, we do not have that. Wait for the microphone. matey.
We all saw what happened on January 20th. Sorry about the loud thing. Trump came into office and bam, he's usually a counterpuncher, but this time he came out punching. He wasn't waiting for anybody to attack him. What are the first things you're going to do when you get into office? Are you going to come in like Trump and just knock them all down? Or, which the first top 3 priorities to do the day you get in office?
Wow. That's like 100 things come into my mind. So the question is what's the plan? The very first thing that's going to happen is the corporation thing is going to be put to bed. We're done with that. I'm tired of hearing about it. We need to get done with it. On the same day, I'm going to ask our treasurer to begin, an in-depth, financial audit so that we can understand what's going on. And within 45 days, I want a report. And within 60 days, I want to have our first financial statement posted online so everybody can see it. I'm going to begin meeting with large donors and explain to them exactly what's going on with providing truth, trust, and transparency so that they can begin to see what's happening. I'm going to have to go in and tell them what we're going to do. We need to show them and demonstrate it, and then I'm going to come back and show them that we did it and we accomplished it and show them how they can get plugged in. There is in the last 3 years, the Georgia GOP organically raised $3 million, not 23, $3 million. The other 20 million came from Trump. All right, we don't get that again. All right, and going forward into next year to be able to accomplish all the things that we need to do, I'm going to need to break every fundraising record that we've ever had. Another thing we're immediately going to put into place and start to roll out is the Constitutional Sheriff's Initiative to make it so that I know that there's at least 24 counties. I got to do some more research, but I know that there's at least 22 or 24 counties in Georgia that have a Democrat sheriff, but Trump won the popular vote by 55% or more. Those offices should be held by Republicans. Now, it's not just about electing a Republican sheriff. Republican sheriffs in a lot of our rural communities really set the tone for everybody else in the community. It makes it so that when somebody's running for Board of Commissioners or somebody's running for Board of Education, they're probably going to align with a Republican sheriff. And if we do that, it's going to make it so that when we have qualifying fees that are coming in for those positions, they're going to be coming into that county Republican Party. It's going to help bolster those, those party or those county parties. We're also, I mean, there's so much. I mean, we're going to be, rolling out a new initiative to help train the new chairs. The new chairs have got to have tools and resources to make it so that they can be effective. I've come across chairs that are out there, just recently got elected. I was talking with one a couple weeks ago, and I said, have you done this before? Nope, first time ever. And you know what? That's a perfect candidate where we need to be able to reach out to that person and say, here's how you set up your meetings, here's how you get your meeting space, here's how you communicate with people, here's the email tools that you do, here's how you set up a bank account, all those things so that because a lot of these county chairs out there, particularly in rural counties, they're business owners and busy people just like us. They don't have time to go learn how to chip a wheel out of a block of stone. That we need to basically have a vehicle where we can say hop in, let's go. What's next? It's a long laundry list. I could talk for like an hour, but it's if it's going to be reminiscent of what you saw with Trump. There's going to be a lot of paperwork. There's some of it there's some of it that is that's sensitive, that is regarding protecting the party and protecting the brand, and I'll get to that later. But I don't want to publish the surprise play and have everybody take a look at what's going on.
Okay, I have a question. I just got elected again for the second term on state committee for Cherokee County. In my first term of state committee, I reached out to the GOP, the state party, and I wanted to get the list of other state committee members so I could learn things, and we are going to be going across the country, across the state rather. I wanted to be able to have access to that. And I sent an email to Karen Henschel. So I want to know, who would I ask to get that information? Because I was told I was not able to have it. And as far as people worrying about protecting delegates, I'm worried about who has my information. And I really don't think it's fair that, so that is my question. Who would I ask for that state committee list?
In the future?
Answer that.
Yeah, you'll be able to ask the executive director, but honestly, that should be on the website as well too. That's leadership. I never got the list either, by the way. I did ask for it. I never got it.
Hi, hi. This question is for David. I'm Enid Alexander. I live in Cobb County. I have been actively participating in the past in Cobb County, going to meetings. I was a delegate at the convention in 2023. And that was enough for me, actually. And I got very dispirited. And what it would take for me to be encouraged to re-engage, at minimum, and Suzanne's already reached on the accessibility of an executive committee member, because I wanted to let whoever represented me as an executive committee member or state committee member know how I felt about what was happening with to Brian Pritchard and Susan Opersuth. I did not have confidence that expressing my concerns would get forwarded to these executive and state committee members if I just sent it to the Georgia GOP email box. I didn't. Now, my question to you is specifically, I went to vote recently. The runoff between the runoff for the state Senate and state representatives. I was very disappointed that I didn't have a Republican choice for the office of state Senate. And my question is, whose job is it, and what will you do to see that we have candidates that are fielded so that we can vote for a Republican?
Okay, so good question. So the ultimate responsibility for that falls to the chairman of the county. So in that case, if you're in Cobb County, that would have been Sally Grubbs at the time. That would have been her responsibility. Going forward, under my administration, one of the things we're going to have is an accountability committee, and the accountability committee is going to serve two functions. One is to evaluate our current legislators and let us see how they score as far as their voting record. The other function that they're going to have is going to be to help us recruit and help county chairs recruit good candidates that fit the mold of what we're looking for. Yes.
I just wanted to kind of follow up with these last two questions because it sounds like that's communication between you and the state. And what I'd like to see is, if I'm elected as secretary, that I would be, as the secretary, the primary contact. And then from there, I could go to the executive committee, find out the answer, and then I could guarantee you I would get an answer back for you. Now, it may not be the answer you want to hear, but at least you would get an answer. Because I think this saying about, I contacted so-and-so, but I never heard, that's unacceptable. And so that would be my goal is to help you with that.
Okay. I understand you would help, but I would like to contact somebody. I would like to have access to that person directly. So my question is, if you're elected, this is for everybody, would you be willing to have an email address and phone number made available either on the Georgia GOP website or to the delegates so you can be contacted directly? You don't need to just say yes or no. In my opinion, many public officials, including state legislators, make their contact information available. And I believe state party leaders should do the same. Transparency and accessibility are key when you are representing the grassroots. So I want to make sure every single one here respond. If you're afraid, you shouldn't probably be in this position. So I want to know if you are available and you would do that. Thank you.
Since I'm holding the microphone.
Can you raise your hand? You would give a phone number and email to. Yeah.
I believe that communication is the cornerstone to all successes, and I am committed to that. And there's no shyness about my phone number and my email address. Not only that, but I've made a career out of responding to people. I always answer my phone.
Okay. I'm going to add to that. I always respond. When I've done projects, and especially when I'm dealing with the volunteers and the grassroots, I'm always responding. People are like, "Oh my God, I heard from you so quickly," and that I believe is part of why people like me and want to, support me in doing stuff. I am responsive. My email's not on here, but my telephone number is on here, and on my Facebook page, my email is there as well. And so many people know how to get in touch with me, but it is scary. I have 9 cameras on my property, and when my husband filed the Fannie Willis ethics complaint, as well as the Fannie Willis's bar complaint, as well as she filed something with the state Senate. We actually went to the police department in Johns Creek to tell them, if we get swatted, please call me and don't come up my driveway, guns a-blazing.
And I just wanted to say, one of the things I'm running on is technology, my background in technology. We can implement at the state party forwarding email addresses for every county party position, every state committee member, every executive committee member, so that everyone in the whole Georgia GOP universe has a publicly available email address that's accessible to every Republican in the state of Georgia, and then that can forward those emails to their private email so that if they are nervous about having a private email on a public website, which, you know, can be understandable. I mean, a lot of folks up here have gotten a lot of death threats, but we could have a publicly available forwarding email address with each position's name in it on the state party website, and I think that's something we should absolutely do ASAP as soon as we get through a state convention.
I have a question. My name is Beverly Payton. I'm the new chair of Bartow County. Thank you. And as Mr. Cross has mentioned, I'm a new chair who's never been a chair, but I do have a consulting background. My platform was I want to increase our membership because in Bartow we have a dwindling population of members, and we have dwindling funds to match. So as a new chair in a county that wants to grow with those limitations, how would you help somebody like me to build our party?
How would we help you grow? All right. The easiest way is that you start with data. All right. I've got a team of people that's way smarter than me that built a tool that I can look up any neighborhood. I can look at any precinct, any county, and I can drill into it and I can tell you who the hard Republicans are. And we can even drill into it to say, show me the hard Republican households. And a hard Republican household is going to be husband and wife, you know, both hard Republicans. That's the easiest low-hanging fruit to be able to reach out to. From there, I mean, we've got, you know, it's all coming from the voter rolls, but I mean, you've got all the demographics, you've got, you know, age, you know, race, sex, everything. So you can really reach out, you know, to those people very easily with email, with text, invite them, to come in and get acquainted. Sometimes you're going to find people that have just recently moved into the county, or maybe they've been there for a while. Sometimes people just need to be asked, you know. Invite people in order to, you know, unite them with you.
I'll pass it on to you. One of the things that I've suggested is we actually use the voter file more than we do, because every county party has access to something called GOP Data Center, which is a much enhanced version of the Secretary of State's voter file. And one of the things that the state party has, that the Congress has given it, is the ability to mail mass mailings at the nonprofit rate. And so one of the things I want to do as second vice chair is a postcard program for every county where the state party pays, but depending on the population size of the county, maybe 500 or 1,000 postcards a month out to Republicans in your county, inviting them to the next couple of events you have going on. And I think that would be pretty huge in a cumulative effect over a year or two in bringing many more people out to your parties. And one thing that's really shocking to me is going around the state is a lot of Republicans that love Donald Trump, went to all the rallies, have no idea we even have county parties. They don't know we have county parties. They don't know what we're doing in our county parties. And we've got to change that. And I think that's something the state party absolutely can help do, you know, in building tools, technology, and communication infrastructure for you guys to use. Thank you.
Remind me your name one more time. Beverly. Beverly. Do you know Catherine James from Lumpkin County? Okay. Y'all need to connect. She's got the United Saves America program, which is right exactly what you're looking for. I can connect you, or if you want to email me, I have her PowerPoint presentations that she put together. But it's all about starting with what we call low-hanging fruit, the folks that you know that happen to be Republicans, create relationships, draw them in. Then you have events and that sort of thing that keeps them coming back. And then you turn them into members, and now they're your volunteers, and that's how you grow your party. But if you'll remind me, I'll get you her contact information.
And besides that, I told you I was a House District Chair. What we're doing is once a month we have meetings of interest in our community, like we're having the sheriff on community safety. I'm sorry, the police chief, not the sheriff. You got me started down that line. And this brings in people who may not be Republicans, but then they find out we're a pretty nice bunch of people, and we kind of go from there, and we're building our party with people who are not in our party and who may never have even voted.
I've got.
All right. Yep. Well, listen. Sorry about that. When it comes to growing the party, I agree with everything everybody else said, and I want to just kind of go off what you just said about people not knowing they're conservative. I grew up in a family of Democrats who are generational Democrats who are as conservative as it gets, but they vote Democrat because grandmama voted that way, mama voted that way, so it must be the right thing to do. And until we're able to just meet people right where they are and have conversations about, okay, well, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. You believe in a two-parent household, I believe in a two-parent household. I believe in keeping my kids safe, you believe in keeping your kids safe, because these are things that a lot of people care about. When you start having those type of conversations with people, and then when you disagree with someone, the first thing you do is listen and don't yell at them, and I think you'll be very successful as a county party chair in growing your party.
My name is Ed McPherson. I'm with Cherokee County. I just have a question here. I've listened to this accounting problems. I retired from a Big Four accounting company, and I don't see that we have any best practices at all in this Republican Party. We're a multi-million-dollar business with no accountability. I want to know, if you get elected, are you going to bring in the Doge for the Republican Party, where we go in and actually straighten out this mess? I'm actually on the board of 2 multi-million-dollar nonprofits that use QuickBooks. I know that you can account for everything. There's no excuse for you to get something and have 2 days on a weekend to get it done. You should at least have a week. You got to change the whole process here. Somebody's got to come in and reinvent this whole accounting process, because there's no accountability.
I bet that there's a couple more guys just like you that could help us out. And yes, the answer to your question is we're going to doge the Georgia GOP. That starts on day one. And if we do, I'm gonna this will be our little parting thing that we're gonna leave today with. I found this video. I've been looking for it forever. It's 18 seconds long. You're only going to hear the audio, all right? But you'll get it, all right? Here we go.
So much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Delegates, everybody listen. Everybody listen. I need everybody's attention right now. This is of utmost importance. If you're a delegate or if you're an alternate, you need to go to the state convention. You are needed to vote. We need to get, make sure everybody shows that can absolutely come. So everybody, please make sure you go. It's going to be June 6th and 7th, and it's going to be at the Dalton Convention Center, 2211 Tony Engle Parkway, Dalton, Georgia 30720. And anyways, I want to thank everybody, all the candidates, for coming today. Okay, registration is on Saturday. Friday and Saturday. Okay, and people can also register on Thursday, or is it just state committee? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We appreciate it.